Welcome to the first ever edition of the Crease Resilient Video Podcast. I'm Chris Dawson along with Dr. Rob Graham. And Rob, tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about in the next, maybe years. We'll see how well things go, but what are we doing here?
Well, Chris, first of all, it's a real honor to be with you doing this podcast, Crease Resilience. You and I, both being goaltenders, have some real insights into the position itself from an experiential standpoint, but you being intimately involved with hockey as a GM, and we'll talk more about that, myself as a goaltender coach. Many times you and I in our conversations have thought, wouldn't it be really cool to have some type of a podcast to bring some deeper insights to the general public about these young men and women that play the position, and as you've mentioned too, Chris, we've got some really interesting stuff in store where we're going to dig into the archives. You have a lot of video footage. You have some really interesting interviews that you've conducted with NHL players. So this podcast is really going to delve into the psyche behind playing this position. But we're also kind of vintage, Chris, you and I. We're vintage kind of guys, and so we're going to go into the tickle trunk a little bit, and we're going to look at some of the older equipment and compare it to some of the newer equipment. But I think overall what we're going to provide is we're going to provide some great entertainment, some great insight, and we're going to have some fun talking about something both you and I really love, and that's the position of goaltending.
One of the key things that's happening for 15-year-olds around Ontario and beyond is the OHL draft, and both Rob and I got to talk to two North Bay prospects that are hoping to see their name pop up on the screen of the OHL draft. And the first player is Logan Coats, who is actually Rob's been his goalie coach this year, and they spoke about what the weekend will be like for him.
I'm here with Logan Coats, goaltender for the North Bay U18 AAA Trappers. Logan, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for our Crease Resilience podcast. And I'd like to begin, Logan, just by making a comment. This year, your coach, Coach Guy Blanchard, said to me at one point during the season that you were unequivocally the most improved player on the team by far. Coming from a coach like Guy Blanchard, who's literally coached thousands of players over the course of his career, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable, really. Guy doesn't generally say too much about players' improvement, and so, I mean, for a guy like that who's coached so many players and kids who went somewhere, it really does mean a lot, and it just shows that hard work doesn't go unnoticed. So yeah,
I agree with that. I think it's a great testament to you, and I think it's a testament to your work ethic. Now, you and I have done a lot of work together this year on the ice, but we've done a lot of work together off the ice on the mental side of the game. Coming into the U18 AAA Hockey League, can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned about the importance of the mental side of the game?
The mental side is just as important, if not more, than the on-ice stuff, because if you're not strong mentally, you can't succeed. I think help with my mental game has really improved just my consistency and ability to bounce back after bad goals or just weird bounces, whatever it is. And just for consistency, I mean, really just having a good pregame routine and not getting the what-ifs, as you would call it. It makes an unbelievable difference.
And former NHL player and U18 AAA coach Vitaly Akhmanev mentioned that around the Christmas time, he started to see a tremendous improvement in your consistency and your ability to, like you and I talk about, not get too high and too low. So that's fabulous, and we'll obviously want to keep that growing. So hockey is a game of highs and lows. You've come to learn that this year with our U18 AAA Trapper team. Most recently, not being selected to the OHL Cup was obviously a disappointment. Can you tell me maybe what you've learned from that experience?
I mean, hockey isn't all just black and white. There's lots of things that go into it behind the scenes. Obviously, I worked as hard as I could to make that team. Not being selected was definitely disappointing, but I mean, it's it's kind of just like starting a fire. Just gives me the desire to work harder and really put that as motivation and just to grow and continue to play my game and see what happens.
And I think that's the approach you've taken all year, Logan, is you've come to the ice every time wanting to do better, be better. And we've talked about, just embracing the experience, and you've definitely done a good job of doing that. Well, our Crease Resilience podcast for our pilot edition is really going to be focusing on the OHL draft that's upcoming. Can you tell me, Logan, what does the OHL draft mean to you, and being selected or not selected, what would that mean?
I mean, it would be incredible to be selected. It's every kid's dream when you go to play hockey in Ontario. Ever since I was a kid, I was at London Knights games, watching them and just idolizing them, really. I mean, it would be awesome if I did get selected, but not everyone can be selected. So there's plenty of other pathways and opportunities that are going to come up in the future if this draft doesn't go my way. But just hoping it does right now. So, I mean, yeah.
It sounds like either way, you're going to be coming to the rink ready to do better, get better, and make others better. And that's kind of been your modus operandi all season. Can you tell me, Logan, in terms of a goalie mentor, somebody that you model your game after?
Recently, I've been watching Joseph Woll a lot. He's a young kid. He's big. He matured late. He's just made his NHL, he's just really breaking into the NHL this year, and he's around 25. So, I mean, it just shows that you don't, as a goalie, you don't mature as quick as players do, and it's a unique position. He's a big kid. He takes up a lot of net. He's got good edges and knows where he is in his net. Has athleticism to him for sure too. So, I mean, that's a good thing to have when you're a goalie.
And I see some of those characteristics in your game. And I also like the selection of Joseph Woll. Yeah. Logan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on our first edition of this Crease Resilience podcast. I know great things are in store for you. Keep focused on the experience and not chase the dream, and I know good things are going to happen.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that was a great interview you did, Rob, with Logan Coats. You were his goalie coach. You were also Carson Rdy's goalie coach, and he's also another goalie that's looking to go in the draft too.
Yeah, and Chris, we're going to be throwing to an interview you did with Carson just a moment ago, and I know that you asked some really great questions of Carson about what some of his expectations are going into this OHL draft weekend. And you can only imagine being a young goalie in their shoes and that dream and some of that fear of possible failure, but then the total excitement and exhilaration of getting selected into the OHL. And you know about it because your son actually was one of those individuals who did experience and get to live that dream.
Absolutely, and here's the interview. All right, we're here with Carson Rdy, U18 AAA Trapper star netminder. And Carson, let's start from the beginning of the year. Your first year with the U18 Trappers as a I guess you can't say minor midget, U15 goaltender in your draft year. Tell me a little bit about preparation and going into the season, some of the things that you did to get ready for your first year.
Yeah, I mean the Poisson Voodoos rookie in camp was a big help to step up my game to some older players facing harder shots, and kind of rolled me into the season. I got a good start and started this team off strong.
You and you got a dub in an exhibition game. I might have a little bit of familiarity. You played really well, and I just one of the things that I know talking with our staff about you, Carson, is you just seem to be so calm in that, and it can be a real stressful position. How do you kind of get yourself ready mentally to be able to get rid of all that white noise, whether it's a crazy crowd in Kapuskasing or a busy building here at Memorial Gardens for a game?
I mean, I've always kind of been the calm guy. Haven't really done much to get prepared, but I mean, I've always had a team that's kind of been a little bit on the losing side, so I've learned to wash away the goals pretty fast and just stay calm, play my game, and just focus and get ready for the next play.
As a calm goalie, who do you kind of look up to as kind of your role models as goalies out there?
I think Devin Levi's pretty calm. He just stays calm, moves his feet, and just beats the puck and just plays his own game.
Moving through the season, every year has challenges. You had some injury challenges that knocked you out late in the season during the playoffs, and then you end up getting hurt at the OHL Cup. So tell me a little bit how you've kind of dealt with the injury bug that obviously getting hit with pucks. You're going to get injuries, but tell me a little bit how you've dealt with that this year.
It was definitely difficult. Usually like the go-to goalie, so it's pretty hard to be sidelined. But I mean, our team did pretty good at the tournament, and it was good to watch them play and succeed without me.
There is the novelty and the possibility with the OHL draft that you and your teammate are kind of on the OHL draft radar. But let's talk about Carson Rdy and sort of like the experience and talking to teams as you the days are winding down to that day on Saturday about the draft. How's it been for you that way?
I mean, it was pretty difficult to just kind of keep going, but after I got some emails, it kind of gave me some more motivation to get better and keep going, push through it. But it's hard to kind of brush it out, but I think I did pretty well at it, not worrying about it and just stick to my game and help my team win.
Maybe and last question, is there anybody that's given you some really good advice this year about goaltending and about the OHL draft that you've kind of said, hey, you know what, I'm glad that person told me that?
I think Rob's saying it's not about the destination, it's about the journey is pretty relatable, and it's always been in my head since the start of the season.
Got to throw some love, though, to Rob Graham.
Chris, we're standing in front of the North Bay Centennial kind of Hall of Fame, I guess, if you will. And there definitely were some glory years here in North Bay, the North Bay Centennials. And I know you're a great scholar of North Bay hockey, and you have a lot of great memorabilia that we're going to be looking at throughout our podcast. I happen to be wearing the new North Bay Battalion jacket. We are now the North Bay Battalion here, and we're conducting this podcast here today at the home of the North Bay Battalion here at Memorial Gardens. But I also love the Powassan Voodoo jersey that you're wearing, and you've been the GM for the Powassan Voodoos for the last 10 years. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Yeah,
we're actually the affiliate of the North Bay Battalion and have been pretty much, I think, 8 of the 10 years that we were we've been in existence, and it's been pretty neat with goaltenders. And we might get a peek at some of them, like Mike McIver was a Voodoo's goalie earlier this year, and now he's been put under the fire with an injury to the battalion netminder and got into some action in the playoffs. And guys like Joe Verbetic, who's in the Canadians organization now, got their start with the Voodoos. So yeah, it's a progression. And as you know, as a goalie coach and helping the players with their with mental edge training type of thing, that it's a process, and it's and the kids have to remember it's a process, that you just don't all of a sudden get drafted and all of a sudden you're the starter with the North Bay Battalion or the Peterborough Petes or Sudbury Wolves, right? There's a process.
And that process you speak of, Chris, oftentimes when I'm working with my goaltenders, I encourage them to chase the experience and not the dream. In essence, I guess some sports psychologists would say that's putting the process, first. So I'm really excited, Chris. We bring some really interesting perspectives, and I think this Crease Resilience podcast is really going to be appreciated by parents, coaches, and obviously hockey players. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Rob. And we'll keep you posted and keep watching for more Crease Resilience later on.